Hey guys, and welcome to Dark Souls, the Prepare to Die edition, the infamously difficult game released by From Software. Now, I'm a bit late to this particular bandwagon of playing through Dark Souls, but just because the bandwagon left without you doesn't mean you can't desperately run after it trying to get on. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, we're going to pick a class. The class doesn't matter too terribly much, it basically just affects what gear you start with and also some stats. A lot of people like to start with Pyromancer because, well, you start with the Pyromancy Flame, or Glove, and it's pretty overpowered. But we're not going to start with the Pyromancer, we're going to start with Wanderer instead. And we're going to start with the Master Key, because the Master Key just sort of makes life a bit easier, really. And none of this matters because we will never actually really get a look at the person's face. Now we need a name, something heroic, something adventurous. Such as Alan. Perfect. Okay, and now we are going to get into the game.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arched trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty lords peeled apart their stone spears. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
And that is about the most the game ever actually directly tells us about the lore. So, that man up on the roof was Oscar. Oscar the Fateless, as it would happen, so... We'll meet him again in a minute, but his name, should, or title rather, should tell you something about what's going to happen to him. So these poor chaps here, unfortunately undead. Properly undead as well, because we're undead, but not as undead, because being undead is a bit of a multi-stage process in Dark Souls. These are all messages from the developer, by the way. This is sort of the tutorial area, because it doesn't really have like a proper tutorial, it just sort of tells you what button does what, and then it's like, get on with it, you'll find your way around. So, being undead is a bit of a multi-stage process in Dark Souls, because you start off being undead, but then over time you gradually lose your humanity, and then you hollow, and then once you become hollow, then you become a proper zombie. This is a bonfire, which is basically a checkpoint. It restores your healing items, heals you to full, and then respawns all the enemies in the world as well whenever you rest at one. So, that's nice. And in here, we're going to meet a friend. Look, you can see him hiding up there already at the top of the screen. So we walk forward, and you gonna join us? It's very big, very angsty. We don't want anything to do with him at all, no siree. You can actually kill him there, if you're so inclined. It's quite easy if you start off with the black fire bombs as your starting gift. And if you do, you get his weapon, which is a mighty monstrous beast, which is his axe, as it would happen. And it's a mighty beast of a weapon that takes something ludicrous like, 50 strength to use or something like that. But hey, if that's your thing, you can go to town. So this is basically the main difference between the classes. By now, everybody has different weapons, like the Pyromancer has an axe, a different shield, and like, up ahead the Pyromancers would get their glove. It doesn't really affect, your class doesn't really affect anything because the game just sort of lets you do whatever you want anyway. Like, I could be a wizard now if I wanted to. We're not going to be, but I could. Also, there's a trap up here that probably will flatten you the first time you play the game. Giant boulder knocks down a hole in the wall. And we're going to go in there, but first, that's a shortcut just back down to that bonfire we were at a second ago. And now, we are going to have a chat with Oscar after seeing him on the roof. Here he is.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I are both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Now, you could be a complete tight bastard and say no, but we're not that much of a dick, so...
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission. But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite.
This is our healing item.
Oh, and this.
This is a key. It opens the door at the top of the stairs.
Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So that was Oscar. He's gonna die now. In fact, we walk away, and if you listen closely, he goes and stabs himself, which is, I wouldn't have recommended it personally, but I suppose he was a bit dead. Oh, I should have pointed something out while I was in there. Dun, 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 dun. One moment. So Oscar was dicking about on the roof, right? Well, if you look up, there's a hole in the wall, and if you remember, we saw the Asylum Demon up there as well, so Oscar probably had a run-in with the Asylum Demon, and that's why he's in here now. The theory about Oscar goes that he's dicking around on the roof throwing bodies into cells because he knows about the whole prophecy with the Bells of Awakening and all that, so the theory is that he's dicking around on the roof letting other undead out because he doesn't know that he's part of the prophecy, so he's sort of letting out the other undead in a way to as a sort of a way to try and kickstart the prophecy. If that makes sense. That's the theory anyway, because Dark Souls, of course, From Software never really tell us anything. So what bits we do know about the lore are just gleaned from reading item descriptions. Literally, just like item descriptions as well. And there's like a few things that NPCs say, but mostly the items. And we're killing this guy just for shits and giggles, basically, because this door is locked. And we don't even get to open it right now. We will open it, like, way, way, way later, but not anytime soon. So fog gates like this usually mean there's a boss fight on the other side. And there is. Now we're going to fight the Asylum Demon. Fun fact, if you lunge off of that, rather than just do a plunging attack, you get to hit him a little bit more, for a little bit more damage. Now the Asylum Demon is not too much of a threat. You just sort of two-hand your weapon, because you can do that. If you press triangle, you two-hand your weapon and it does more damage. And you just sort of try not to get hit if at all possible, but he doesn't even do as much damage as you might expect. He's just a big, fat, burly guy who thinks he's more important than he is. As you can see, he was not very important. He gave us barely any more trouble than those other guys we saw did. And now, I'm going the wrong way, and now we get to leave the Undead Asylum. It's not much of an asylum, is it? It's got like 5 rooms. Granted, we didn't go into all of them, because we can't, but... And now, we're free to go. He also gave us humanity, and that's a mechanic that I'll explain later when we actually get around to that. But for now, we need to get out of the asylum, which we will do at the top of this cliff. A friend will come and pick us up.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
And this is where we'll be spending a big chunk of this game. We can actually go everywhere that you can see right now as well, which is quite nice. It's not just all meaningless background. We'll actually go all over that place. And this is the Firelink Shrine, which is going to tell us in a second. This is like our little hub world, basically, because there's this bonfire, which is better than most as well, because when you rest at a bonfire, it gives you 5 Estus, but this one has been kindled, and it gives us 10, basically. And over time, we'll meet some NPCs around here, like there's this fellow over here, but more will appear as well across the game, and we come back here quite a lot.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. bring them both, and something happened. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
Yes, everyone's completely mad. A bit of a side effect of being undead, as it should happen, but that's the Crestfallen Warrior. I don't think he even actually has a name. He's a miserable sort. He'll say some stuff about all the NPCs and that show up, and like his dialogue changes now and then throughout the game, but it's generally the same of, oh bother, why even bother being alive, really? He's a bit of an Eeyore, but he lacks the charisma that Eeyore actually has, you know? This is Petrus.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thoroland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible.
Well, that's not going to happen today, Petrus.
Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
Now, Petrus is a big old bag of dicks who thinks we're some sort of hobo or something, giving us a coin. How rude of him. Why, I am the chosen undead, I'll have you know. So, every NPC, including Petrus, has some sort of storyline, and I'll try to go through all of the NPC storylines if possible, and if I can't for whatever reason, I'll be sure to at least, like, tell you what happens with them, you know? So the stuff we're nicking down here, by the way, is supposedly Petrus's stuff, because it's got like a Morning Star and a talisman down here. But it also has cracked red eye orbs. Now, what would a cleric like Petrus be doing with cracked red eye orbs? Which, since you might not know, cracked red eye orbs allow you to invade another person's world and basically kill them for profit. Suspicious. Now, we don't want anything to do with those skeletons, because they'll absolutely kick our asses. If you're so inclined, there's a pretty good weapon you can get over there in the graveyard behind the skeletons, and you can get it, like, we could go and get it right now. It's, Zweihander. You just run by, and it's just laying by one of the tombstones. You can just pick it up. And it's a pretty good weapon, you know, you can use it for quite a while. Well, you can use most weapons for quite a while, but it's a pretty strong weapon to get for this stage of the game. And when you rest again, so just in case the skeletons are still following us. But we don't want Zweihander. We want a very similar weapon in the near future to Zweihander, but we don't want Zweihander specifically. And I think I missed one item that's kicking around here. And I think it's up here, around here. Yep, here we go. Soul of a Lost Undead. There's a variety of items like that. Basically usable. If you look on the counter, we've got a number, and that's basically how many souls we have, which is like what we use to buy things and level up. Like the Soul of a Lost Undead is just money in a usable item form, and it comes in varying sizes as well. There's like Soul of a Hero, which is like 10,000 souls or something like that. The one we've got right now is like worth 100. It's not very good. And now we're gonna stab these nasty fellows over here. Also, ragdoll physics. Woohoo! Yeah. Sorry, I'm playing with your friend. Hold on. Yeah. Woo! Oh, I fell. Alright. So, top of the list of priorities for us is to get a new shield, because even though we're blocking these people's attacks, it's still hurting us, because this doesn't actually have 100% physical resistance. But if we keep backstabbing people, it doesn't matter so much, because you're actually invincible while you're backstabbing someone, and also when you're rolling, there are some amount of invincibility frames, so rolling to avoid attacks is quite important. If you're ever feeling threatened in Dark Souls, just start rolling away. Just start pushing roll away from the enemy. And eventually, you'll probably be safe. Maybe. Oh, he fell. How dare. Ah! How rude. Dropping on someone like that. I'm gonna kick you down the stairs. No, go. Yeah! Woo! Oh, ragdolls. Okay, so we are gonna go up here, grab this item, and then we're gonna go up to the Undead Burg, which is like the first sort of area, like legitimate area in the game. We have to kill this rat though, because rat, we have to kill him every time we go past as well, because rats for whatever reason, have a chance to drop humanity, and we want humanity, which I'll explain now. If you look in the top left, the 2 zeros, that's how much humanity we have right now. And humanity you use to turn human. Once you're human, you can call people in to help you. You can help other people in other worlds, all sorts of fun things. Also, the more humanity you have, the higher that number is, the greater chance you have of finding items. Like, these people can drop things randomly, and the more humanity we have, the more chance we have of actually getting something off of them. Also, after a certain point of having humanity, also increases your resistances. So that's good. And we're going to be needing a lot of humanity as well, because one of the NPCs, his story branches off in 2 ways, but the way we want to go, we need 30 humanity to do that. So we need to save up, but we've got time. And there's all sorts of little hidden areas like this as well. I don't know where he's going. So also, what we're gonna try to do is the first time we go through an area, we're gonna go through together. I'm gonna point out the sights, all the good places to eat. Maybe we'll see a movie, go back to your place, my place. We'll think about it. And then after that, I will cut out all of the backtracking, because this is like a big Metroidvania-style game, and you don't want to see me just walking around over the same areas over and over again. These guys are trying to ambush us. These guys love to do this. They love to just sort of jump out and try to swarm you. But we know they're coming, so. Now, rubbish. Rubbish has an interesting item description. If I can remember where it is. Here it is. Rubbish with no value. Who in their right mind would bother carrying this around? Perhaps you need help. So yes, that's lovely. Basically just mocks us for having it. We can use it for something later, though. It isn't totally useless, as it would have you believe. And now we want to come over here, because this... Well, someone died somewhere. We just got some souls randomly, because this is humanity. Oh, also, if you use I'll use one right now to demonstrate. Ah, see? And it fully healed us. Whenever you use humanity, it fully heals you from whatever amount of health you're at. And now we have a 1 up there. And if you also choose to become human, we have to use that 1 humanity we just had at a bonfire to reverse the hollowing. And we'll show that off in a bit when we actually get to a bonfire. But for now, we're just walking around. Our friend's going to drop in. It's a dragon, or Drake, as everyone loves to point out. We'll be seeing him again later. Up on that very bridge, in fact, up there. He's a big old bag of dicks.